Hey, Andrew.
Yes, Steven?
You know how we romanticize the days of going out to our local video store and sifting through endless amounts of movies, searching for our favorite films, and maybe even finding some hidden gems?
Oh yes, I know it all too well. That used to be my favorite thing to do. Unfortunately, everything is online now.
Well, what if I told you that there was a place online where you could get some of them same thrills as going to the video store?
Are you talking about Orbit DVD?
I knew you knew what I was talking about. Orbit DVD is located in Asheville, North Carolina, and online with OrbitDVD.com, they bring you everything your physical media heart desires.
Yeah, they have an awesome website that stays up to date with the latest releases from all of your favorite boutique labels as well as studio releases. Not only do they carry American labels such as Criterion Collection, Severin Films, Vinegar Syndrome, and Warner Archive, but they get routine shipments on imports from companies such as 88 Films, Arrow Video, Imprint, and so much more.
And with the option to sell or trade your used copies for cash or store credit, they really bring that video store vibe to you. So go to OrbitDVD.com and stock up on your Blu-rays.
And tell them Chasing Labels sent you.
Welcome to another episode of Chasing Labels. I'm Stephen Billings, your co-host, and with me as always is your other host, Andrew Cabral. How you doing, man?
Doing good. Well as one can do in the world we live in. But yeah,
jeez, that's super depressing. Yeah, why you gotta be so depressing?
You know what it was? You know, sometimes you watch like really melancholic, sad movies, and they just bring you down. You know, I don't know if it's ever happened to any of our listeners.
Sometimes. It depends on how since I just watched it. If I just watched it, maybe. But I was watching Impractical Jokers, so I'm in a happier mood.
That's the opposite.
Yeah. I might prank you or something during this or something.
Oh gee, I'm not a good. Yeah, I'm a great mark for prank because I just don't see it coming.
Me either. Usually,
I'm so gullible and naive, dumb. I trust too much and care too much.
Yeah.
But yeah, that happens to me. If you just watch too many sad, melancholic films, they bring you down.
Yeah.
It's like, damn.
That's how.
I wish the world was a lot more optimistic.
But we watch so many movies, we care about movies so much, we let it affect us.
Yeah, of course. I mean, I don't think we would love movies as much as we did if they didn't affect us as much as they do. But this is Spine number 58, episode number 58, and yeah, it's just us today. There's no guests. I know we've had a big string of guests lately.
Yeah.
But we've taken some, I guess, time to ourselves.
Well, that and just as I've
work on ourselves.
Yeah, well, yeah. But as I've said in previous episodes, with the baby here now, I don't want to put as much pressure on myself and Andrew to not always have that guest to be because we're not just I mean, sometimes we are, but we're not we like to be prepared to talk to them as well, have a little bit of know about them. So when we have to have a guest, that means I got to even do more research on them on top of research about the Blu-ray announcements. So just me and Andrew going back and forth can be a lot less weight on top of the episode, in the sense of our brain power. So
of course, you always like to be as prepared as you possibly can for any of these episodes. So you take all the time that you need, and you take all the necessary preparation when it comes to doing some research on our guests and all that kind of stuff. A lot of the guests we've had, we've been very fortunate that there have been people within the space that we've known of for a very long time. Like we just had Brian on last week. He's someone who's been around for, so many years now, and it's someone that I think everyone, or mostly everyone, already knows of. So it was great to have him on last week. Great talking with him about movies and collecting and his work and all that kind of good stuff. I mentioned it in my tweet that I sent out that, they say never to meet your heroes, because you can inevitably be disappointed, but that was not the case. He was exactly the way he presents himself in his work. You know what I mean? And that shows someone who's truly genuine and passionate about what they do, and it comes from a very honest and truthful space. You know what I mean? Because there's a lot of people who, maybe they put on a bit of a show when they come on to podcasts or do work in front of the camera and all that stuff. But that was just a true, genuine person. So that was awesome.
Absolutely.
But
yeah, he was always, it took us a while to get him set up because he's, doing his own thing. And of course he has his own life. And, even as he admitted to us, because he brings guests on his show, he was getting burned out of doing all that stuff. So he kept having to put me off because he was just burnt out. And
right.
So he was, but he allowed me to keep messaging him, and instead of ignoring me, he kept listening to me, and finally he was in a place where he felt good enough to come back and do some more guesting for other people. So
that's a very genuine thing.
Yeah.
Where he felt that he could reach out to us and or keep reaching out, because he feels like somebody that if you DM him about something, he'll at least get back to you about it.
Yeah.
At some point.
Yeah,
he's not somebody I think who's too above it to not do that. Obviously people forget things, people get busy, things happen, all of that stuff. But he's a genuine, good person. So moving on from our previous episode to our current episode, Stephen, I keep saying this now for the last several weeks, but I think it's even more apropos this week. It's a bit of a smaller slate, a little quiet in the middle of the summer now.
Yeah, this is a little I think a calm before the storm kind of thing.
Yeah, I have a feeling there's going to be a few things on the horizon in the next week or so. But in this week, it's a little more quieter, a little more kind of spaced out as it's been lately. So, Stephen, where do you want to go to now? Do you want to go to some rumor mill stuff?
Yeah, there's a few things that have kind of been posted by. Dawn of the Disc posts some stuff, some other places, and they're just, some of them are rumor. They're not officially announced, but since we got such a lean episode, we might as well kind of mention them.
Right. Let's fill in some of these spaces here. So one thing that came out a few days ago, nearly a week now, is that Criterion is going to be putting out a trilogy set of Infernal Affairs, and the reason being is that I believe Janus Films just revealed that they have these films in their catalog, and obviously we know nothing about when these are coming out, what the artwork's going to look like, anything like that, other than Janus Films has these films in their catalog. I know I've seen the first Infernal Affairs film. I know the first Infernal Affairs film has been available on Blu-ray here for many years. I heard it's not a good-looking Blu-ray at all. I think I watched it streaming, and the reason being is that this, it's notorious that Martin Scorsese used this film as inspiration or for his film The Departed, or The Departed is a remake of Infernal Affairs. Coincidentally, even The Raid 2 is also kind of a quasi-remake of Infernal Affairs, or it takes that premise.
Yeah.
And, this idea of undercover cops and stuff like that, and having to go deep undercover to the point where you're doing stuff you probably never thought you would be doing. And so it kind of goes down that train. But yeah, Infernal Affairs has had a Blu-ray release here in the States from Lionsgate since 2011, and I believe it's now out of print, which would make a lot of sense if it's getting a re-release here. I didn't know this was actually part of a trilogy.
Yeah, I knew it was a trilogy.
Yeah.
Oh,
you did?
Yeah. I knew it was a trilogy, but I haven't even seen any of these movies. I don't believe. I know we've brought it up in the past before, and maybe I watched the first one, but I'm blanking if I did or not. I don't think I did. But yeah, it seems to be a very popular series. But being that it got 3 movies, I would assume people liked it enough.
Yeah.
So I'll definitely be into picking it up maybe one day. But I wonder if Martin Scorsese will have something to say on features if this actually is happening.
I mean, he has worked with Criterion before when it comes to lending his voice or lending himself to special features when it comes to introductions and stuff like that. I wouldn't be opposed to that. I would love to see Criterion do more, new features and whatnot, and not so much just picking from their catalog. But since these will be first-time films, they've got to get special features from somewhere. Yeah. So they've got to get them from somewhere. But moving on from there, I don't know if you wanted to delve into this right now, but there have been some kind of boutique adjacent announcements this week when it comes to 4K upgrades that we just thought were interesting.
This, they're not necessarily the lane we usually talk about, but because it is once again a lean week, some of these films are kind of they've had boutique releases in the past, and now they're getting more mainstream upgrades. So we figure we'll just bring them up to talk about them a little bit.
Yeah, and it kind of falls into that realm of where we're always questioning where in fact do a lot of these licensing deals lie? What is the language in them? Who owns the rights to put out what? And apparently, Paramount still owns the rights to be putting out the War of the Worlds film from 1953 because they're putting out a 4K UHD release as part of their Paramount Presents line, and this is number 35. So everybody who kind of clamored to get the War of the Worlds Blu-ray from Criterion a few years ago, I know I was one of them who tried to hunt it down because it sold out fast during a sale. It was one of the hot items a couple of summers ago during the July leg of the Barnes & Noble sale. And now this is getting a 4K UHD upgrade, which is fascinating to me that Paramount would straight up do that and not license it out to whomever. Maybe Criterion just wasn't interested in relicensing it or licensing it again for a new format. They're very pick and choosy. We've noticed that over the last while.
Criterion has just started doing. Obviously they've been working on it for a while, but this past year was when they first started doing 4K. So maybe it was just not in their minds to do that movie yet.
Or maybe it just wasn't feasible.
Yeah,
money wise. I know I've brought this up before, but having to reacquire something you already have seems kind of odd to me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They already have the Blu-ray distribution rights to War of the Worlds. Now they're going to have to pay again to get now the 4K.
Yeah, basically.
Rights. So it's like the double pay.
Yeah, but really the thing is when a company like Criterion decides that they're going to upgrade something to 4K that they already have, they already got the rights to in a lower format, you're also saying, hey, I got to do a whole new scan of something, that's going to cost money too. If they, anything that they've already got Blu-rays of that they're now making 4Ks for, they're double paying just on the sense of doing a brand new scan,
Right, but I think, because ironically, I don't think they're doing brand new restorations or brand new remasterings for a lot of these upgrades, because a lot of these upgrades already had. Well, I was going to say
that some of them are newer films anyway.
Yeah, but some of them have already had the work done previously for the Blu-ray format. Now they're just taking it and giving us a more accurate representation of what the masters actually look like and stuff like that.
It doesn't have to downscale on the disc.
Yeah, they're not downscaling down to HD, which seems so odd to me. It's we're downscaling to high definition.
Yeah.
So like an oxymoron.
At the beginning, when we started seeing more of them new restorations, it started out saying 2K, and then now we see a lot of 4K restorations, but on Blu-ray. And there is, even though it does say 4K restoration, there is a hit to it when it goes onto disc, but it's still tons better than what you get on streaming.
Oh, of course. Yeah. It's better than what you've seen on streaming for the most part. There are a lot of 4K streams out there now from a lot of places. When you can buy digitally or rent digitally or stream, obviously digitally. But I don't think it's quite the same quality, at least in my opinion. I don't know. I would have to investigate that, but I just err on the side of caution where physical media gives you the best picture.
Yeah, and as before a lot of this depends on your internet. Streaming is all about internet. If you don't have a great strong connection, there's always a chance you're dropping resolution as you're watching it. At different points, I'll be watching something on Netflix, and suddenly it starts getting pixelated out of nowhere, just because for whatever reason the internet started dropping.
Yeah, there's a storm outside.
Yeah, there's a storm. But when you got a disc, it's consistent. It's always the same. So
very much so. But moving on from there, King Kong, the 1933 classic, just absolute classic film, is also rumored to getting a 4K UHD release. Now this is more of I don't know if Warner Brothers is putting this out or if a boutique label is actually putting this out.
Well, this is not the 30s one. This is the 70s one.
Oh, it's the 70s one. You're right. I'm way off.
now Shout Factory put out a release of this not long ago.
Yes, and I just bought it last year. Pretty sure I did.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's on my shelf. I can see it now, and it's
and
yeah,
people
so it's
pray
one of
and
those
people
that's
love
also-
people like that release a lot.
Well, you know, Justin Beam worked on that release, the special features. So I think I bought it after we had interviewed Justin Beam, and because I wanted to get more of his like the work that he had done with Scream Factory and then all these other ones as well, and I bought that release, and chock full of special features. I'm pretty sure it's a 2-disc special edition with like 2 cuts of the movie. It's a deluxe package, so I don't know whoever is putting this out. It could very well be Shout/Scream Factory who could be putting this out, because we've seen that they've been upgrading many of their Scream Factory releases to the 4K UHD format. So it could very well be them.
Could be, but as you said before, this is one. It's a listing from Amazon, and we do not know where it's coming from.
It's also like Amazon France.
Yeah. So we don't know where it's coming from yet.
So it could be Studio Canal. Who knows?
Could be.
But moving on from there is a couple of Sony Pictures Home Entertainment is putting out a couple of these 4K UHD releases, and these are, this is all the mainstream stuff, but this is relevant for boutique labels because one is The Last Picture Show, which we know has a Blu-ray release from Criterion in the BBS box set. It doesn't have an individual Blu-ray release from them. I think the only 2 movies from that set I think have individual releases.
Easy Rider and
5 Easy Pieces.
Yes.
I know has an easy release. I don't think King of Marvin Gardens does.
No.
I know Head doesn't. And then some of the others I don't think have individual releases. But that's interesting because I would have expected maybe a Criterion release of this, especially in the light of Peter Bogdanovich's recent passing. It seems like it would have been something they would have done.
Yeah.
But obviously Sony Pictures is putting this out, and it says it's coming in October. This is just one of the best films I think I've ever seen. And Sony's done this before. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. They've done it, like they put out a Blu-ray release of Easy Rider before the Criterion ever came out. They've put out a Blu-ray release of Doctor Strangelove before a Criterion ever came out, and before they released their own 4K UHD after that, with all of the special features from Criterion too. Sony and Criterion have a really nice relationship. I guess very nice working relationship. I think we know, I don't know if a lot of people know this now, but the Criterion discs that a lot of us have been buying for the last several years have all been made, I think, at Sony factories.
Oh, okay.
Like, pressed by Sony themselves. I'm pretty sure that's the case. But another one that is Criterion related is Steven. I don't know how you feel about this. It happened one night. 4K UHD release. And
part of me, feels like that there's a chance that this is a dual 4K. Sony's putting it out, but maybe Criterion's gonna get their own 4K release of these movies down the line. Because some of these deals that they make are not just about 4K rights or Blu-ray. It's about the prints. Like you have a scan of it, I have a scan of it. Like maybe like you said, because they have a great relationship. Maybe they're letting Sony put them out first, but then they get the second time around, and people just
I wouldn't be surprised if we see the special features from the Criterion release show up on this release.
Yeah.
I know that the first time I ever bought this movie was a DVD put out by Sony, Columbia Pictures, and it, then obviously we got the upgrade later. It's a big. This is
it's
like,
one of my favorite.
I know, Steve, I know you love this.
It's one
movie.
of my favorite.
I think it's one of the best ever.
Yeah, one of the great screwballs. It's kind of cut.
It's a screwball comedy. It's the blueprint for the romantic comedy.
It kind of
Clark Gable, Claudette Colbert.
You can see it all over a movie like Overboard. Like Overboard.
Oh, it's all over every romantic comedy.
But specifically Overboard comes to mind because of the whole taking in somebody that's running away from their past kind of thing, and then making them love each other. Of course there's an amnesia angle to the Overboard movie, but there's this pairing of two people that are nothing alike, and then they fall in love. It's a great premise that I think happened one night, really codified, and then, like you said, inspired tons of movies from there. So
Yeah, it's kind of great that it's getting a re-release because I know that Blu-ray looks stunning already.
I fell in love with that movie through that Blu-ray. I mean, it's
yeah. But moving on from there is another film about romance. This isn't even Criterion or really boutique related at all, but I figured I'd throw it in because I love this movie so much. And this is From Here to Eternity, is also getting a 4K UHD release from Sony Pictures. And I bring this up just because the movie is an amazing movie. Burt Lancaster, Monty Clift, Deborah Carr, Frank Sinatra, Donna Reed.
It's that famous scene on the beach.
There's that scene on the beach. But this is a Blu-ray that's been around for a few years. Since 2013. I know because I bought it in 2013. And it was put out directly by Sony Pictures. It's still in print. If anyone's interested in it, it looks great. For the Blu-ray that came out nearly a decade ago, it still looks fantastic. That's the one thing with Sony, is they were really at the forefront when it came to remastering and restoring and preserving a lot of their back catalog stuff when it came to Columbia Pictures. So that's why all of the masters that they lend out to these companies all look really, really good because they've been recently, had work done on them. So From Here to Eternity, that's one that's, it's not really boutique related, but I would put a big circle around this for a classic film fan, enthusiast like myself. So that's a little bit off the book about stuff we do. Getting back on track a little bit is a Studio Canal release of The Driver.
Yeah.
I feel like we just talked about this movie a couple of weeks ago.
Because we did.
This is the Walter Hill film.
Yes.
We just thought because it's getting another Blu-ray release from Imprint.
Yeah.
So that's
is it
interesting.
Imprint? Or was it 88 Films?
No, because it was part of the Imprint Walter Hill box set.
Oh, you're right. You're right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But didn't it get a?
It got a Twilight Time Blu-ray release years ago.
I feel like
that I think we both have.
Yeah.
Well, I know I have it.
I feel like it got another release. Like I don't. Maybe I'm because Imprint's technically Region B, and this is of course a Region B from Studio Canal. I'm trying to think if I feel like it got another boutique release in America somewhere recently.
No, not in America.
Okay.
I mean, it has a release from the UK in 2014.
Okay.
It's got a release of, I think it's got a release in Germany. It's got a release in France from 2015. It's got, of course, the one we just talked about from Imprint. That's coming out in that box set.
Maybe I'm thinking of that.
It's got released from
I think
everywhere.
I'm thinking of that other movie called Drive. That 80. I think
the Nicholas
88.
Winding Refn film.
Huh? No. There was another movie called Drive or Driver that I think 88 Films put it out.
Oh, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you saw it and you said it was super entertaining, and I
the one from 1997 is being put out by 88 Films.
Yes. That's what I'm confusing.
It's just called Drive.
Yeah, there you go.
It's confusing as hell. Yeah, film starring Kadeem Hardison, Mark Dacascos, and Brittany Murphy.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I was thinking of.
Yeah, that's the film you're talking about. It's still, it came out last month.
Yeah, too many movies with Drive in the title.
Too many movies. Yeah, too many movies with the title Drive in the title.
All right.
That was not the way one should have said that.
Yeah, it's okay. We leave it in there.
We'll just leave it in there. But I guess staying on the Studio Canal train before we move on to someplace else is a French film that is currently streaming actually on the Criterion Criterion streaming channel. Criterion channel. Wow, I'm all over the place today.
It's okay, man.
It's way too
our recording time's different. He's got to get used to it. It's 3 p.m.
No,
now.
it is. It's a different day. It's a different time. I'm not used to it yet. But it's a movie called Cascador from 1952. It's a French film. It's a crime, romance. I thought it felt like a film noir to me, but I haven't seen any place that categorizes it as a film noir. But it is streaming on the Criterion channel. It's a film directed by Jacques Becker, who's a director I know of, but I haven't seen any of his work.
Okay.
So not really helpful.
Yeah, not helpful at all. Thanks for that.
But this is a film that's dealing with like French gangsters and romance and stuff like that. I don't want to give it too much away. The movie's only like 95 minutes long, which is a great lean runtime. Essentially, there's this woman who all of these men are infatuated with, so she kind of is a bit of a femme fatale by proxy, and she's in a relationship as a gangster mole with this like gangster who's like the head of this local mafia or whatever, but French mafia, and she ends up kind of falling for a regular person who's not part of that group. He's like a carpenter or something like that, or a blacksmith or something like that, and they end up having a romance, but of course complications ensue. There are other men who are also infatuated with her as well, and things go down a very dark and depressing, complicated tunnel of stuff. It's good. It's a really, really good film. So I would recommend that if people are into kind of French semi-noir films of that era. And it is streaming currently right now, but when it comes to streaming, things change month to month.
Yeah.
I've noticed that a lot lately I've noticed that a lot where a movie will be here today and gone tomorrow. There was another story that just came out, completely an aside here, where I can't remember who it was. Was it Apple again, or was it Vudu, or was it somebody? One of those companies where you buy digital copies of movies from. People are having their movies removed that they've bought because the company or the service no longer has that movie. And I'm just like, damn. That must really suck. Steve, I know you were just talking about kind of the whole predicament when it comes to streaming movies, when it comes to internet connection. I think it's more of the fact that you pay like $20 for a movie,
people that are just buying digital versions. Yeah, people that are just buying digital versions of movies now, and just like, oh, my library's on my internet in my cloud. I'm like,
which is fine
for now until that fucking cloud bursts. The rain starts raining, and then fucking you don't have no water in that cloud anymore. And I know I'm using a stupid metaphor, but I'm doing it.
Well, we've seen a lot of these companies go under. Also after a while. Like a lot of the digital copy companies that you would get digital copy codes for, they would shut down. And it's like they'd be emailing you, say, hey, download your library because it's going to be gone.
I mean, shit, Vudu teamed up with Fandango. I mean, that's so that's a whole thing now. And I think Movies Anywhere is like a
I was just thinking of Movies Anywhere. You read my mind.
Yeah.
But there was another company, I can't remember their name. They went under. And they were doing digital copies for years when it came to movies. And I remember,
and of course, Apple used to do it, a lot. But I don't think.
Well, yeah, Apple still does it. But I mean, like, and I know we're sounding like elitist jerks right now, because I know there's a lot of people who probably listen who've done this, who do it. They buy movies digitally and have them on their computer, their cloud, hard drives, whatever. And a lot of people don't have the space for physical media. That's always a big issue. And stuff like that. A lot of people, to be honest, don't have the equipment to watch physical media. I know many people who don't have DVD players. A lot of the computers stuff now don't come with don't come with disk drives. No. Tablets are kind of taking over when it comes to laptops. Tablets, you don't really have disk drives for. I don't even know if you can get mobile disk drives for tablets. But that's a whole big kind of aside. I'm just saying that, unfortunately, a lot of people are still continuously getting screwed over because, sometimes these movies disappear on them after they've paid for them, which sucks. So I don't want to sound like an elitist.
Oh, it's not. But, look, everybody, let's explain ourselves, I guess. Though we've said it many times. We know everybody's got their own situation. So if we're making judgment calls here, it's not to shun anybody. It's about what we feel is the best way. If you're somebody that cares a lot about movies, the best way to keep them and hold on to them is to buy the physical media version. If you can. Yeah. And if you're able to. And if you can't, I mean, that's just unfortunate for that person. And most people, they don't care that much. They don't care enough to want to buy it like that, so they're okay with buying it digitally, and probably half the time don't even realize that if they go missing, they go missing.
I just want people to be aware that is an issue that is continually happening, because I know it was something that we talked about years ago, and it's still happening. Which is kind of odd to me that it's, it wasn't fixed before or anything like that. So for those of you who do have digital libraries, make sure you keep checking to see if you have everything you've ever bought, or if things have been removed. Inquire about maybe getting your money back or whatever the case may be. But that's just an issue.
For me,
but moving on from there, back to the physical.
For me,
realm.
I was going to say real quick is I don't even. I mean, like I guess I wouldn't be totally against buying a digital copy if I had to, but like I only use my digital for backups. Like anything I get a digital code for, yeah, sure, why not? I just got Galaxy Quest. It's got a digital code. Fuck, I'll use that thing and put it on the computer just in case. What if I'm on vacation and I don't want to bring my discs? Well, there it is on the damn thing. Yeah, it's useful. It's definitely useful. Just buying them. If I'm going to spend $13 or $14, I'd rather have the disc in my hand.
Right. Yeah. So basically, what we're saying is watch movies any way you can, but be mindful that there are limitations and things do end up happening. That are really out of your control. Yeah. And it happens with physical media too. These discs aren't permanent. Their disc rot is an issue.
It's a thing. It is a thing, definitely.
These discs do fall apart over time. That could be a problem for many, many people. But moving back into the physical realm, into these announcements, there's another studio can now release of the film called The Others. This is a really great horror film starring Nicole Kidman from, I think, the early 2000s. I want to say 2003. One? Yeah, 3.
One?
Is it 3? 1? I'm trying to figure out if when Cold Mountain came out.
You won. You won.
The Others is 01, and I think Cold Mountain is later on, which is the film that obviously I think more people are aware of when it comes to Nicole Kidman's career. But this is a really great film. That's a ghost story.
Yeah.
It's a great ghost story. I don't want to give away anything. But it stars Nicole Kidman, Christopher Eccleston. I don't want to say anything even about the plot. I remember when this movie came out, and it ended up surprising a lot of people. But this is getting a 4K UHD release. I know the Blu-ray's been out for many, many years when it comes to this film. Because I have it, and I know it's been put out a couple of times. It came out in 2011, the Blu-ray came out, and then they reissued it in 2020. And I think this is an old Lionsgate release. Yes, it is. It is an old Lionsgate release because I want to say this was a Miramax film.
Yeah, Dimensions put it out.
Yeah, it is a Miramax film. And I think a lot of the Miramax catalog to this day is all over the place, but in the early 2010s...
It's starting to come out, though.
Yeah.
Some of that stuff's starting to come out.
Is.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know in the early 2010s, Lionsgate was putting out a lot of these. Echo Bridge was putting out a lot of Miramax stuff. I really like this movie. I think it's underrated. It always ends up being on lists of great horror movies of the last 25 years or whatever.
Yeah.
And people always end up kind of forgetting about it. But that's The Others. Moving on from there, Steven, I think another... Yeah, there's so many. This has been the 4K UHD upgrade week. Like Saturday Night Fever is getting a 4K UHD upgrade from Paramount. Casablanca. This is one I got to talk about because I know it's not even close to boutique label land, but it is possibly being put out by Warner Brothers at some point.
It says in November. Was a film
Yeah, and this was never going to be a Warner Archive release.
No.
It's one of those where that's like Wizard of Oz, Singing in the Rain. It's going to get a mainstream, Gone with the Wind's another one. It's going to get a mainstream release from the mainstream label always.
Yeah.
So I can't wait for this. I have 2 editions of Casablanca in my collection. They're both older releases. I have that big, deluxe, box.
That's what I got. Yeah.
Warner Bros was doing a lot of those big white box.
I think it's a 70th anniversary.
Yes, so it was put out, a decade ago, and it's always been one of the gold standards of my collection. It's one thing I've loved. I've always had it set aside. Actually, it's actually I see it right now. It's over on a chair, and it's this is one of my favorite movies of all time. I can't wait for this release. Yeah, this is going to look stunning. I just hope we're getting a decent packaging. That's the one thing I'm very underwhelmed with when it comes to the 4K UHD releases of a lot of these mainstream companies for these back catalog titles. They're just putting them in regular cases. No frills, no nothing. It's kind of boring as sin. Like Wizard of Oz, Singing in the Rain, It's like regular packaging. And
Well,
it's like, come on.
I got the old ones.
Come
I'll just
on.
put the 4K inside of it and it'll be all good.
I guess. Yeah, I guess. But another one we got to talk about this because we just brought this up last week, Steven. Wayne's World getting a 4K UHD release, which I know you willed into existence.
I did it. It was me.
This is all you.
It was me.
All you.
Though I would like to see the second one getting the same treatment, but
Yeah, it's another one of those Grease and Grease 2 type deals where you'll get the first one, but then they'll maybe give you one later at some point.
So we need to all buy this thing.
Yeah, because if not, we'll probably never get we'll never get a Wayne's World 2 4K. Because we haven't even gotten a Grease 2 4K. We probably never ever will. They were like, here's Grease 2 on Blu-ray. Be happy with what you got.
Yeah.
There you go. But this is Wayne's World classic. Mike Myers, Dana Carvey, plethora of cameos of people that you recognize.
I didn't explain this completely because when we were talking to Brian, I expressed how much I love these movies and how much and that I am a person that loves the second film.
Second one more, yes.
Even maybe more. And I realized I was thinking more about that and like why maybe I like it more. Now, of course, Queen's great, and that whole opening thing is a staple of that movie and has kept it popular for so long.
Oh yeah, Bohemian Rhapsody was back in people's I mean, for the first time. I mean. This is a recent pop culture collection. Everybody's like, with the new Stranger Things that came out. Stranger Things is notorious for the music and all that stuff, but, introducing, Kate Bush is Running Up That Hill, which we've talked about on the podcast before, but of course now with Metallica, Master of Puppets, which was used. And I'm not spoiling anything. It was used. People are like criticizing people for like the younger generation just hearing this music now. And it's like, Steven, you and I probably had the same situation when it comes to Wayne's World with Bohemian Rhapsody.
Yeah.
I was like, when did it came out in 1992. I was 5 years old. So I was probably just starting to hear things like Bohemian Rhapsody for the first time.
And also, it shows you the potential power of what film and TV can be on people, giving them that visual, of the situation in which the song was used adds a lot to it as well. When a song is used in the proper manner in a film, it can elevate it even more. And it gives them a visual in their minds of when they hear that song, what they see. And so, it's...
Yeah, I mean, and also, I've said this before, and I'll say it again. The older generation, and we're getting, the millennial generation is starting to become that older generation. People are in their 30s and their 40s now and stuff like that. We have to not criticize the younger generation coming up for discovering stuff that we've always known about.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, we've always...
it should be fun.
We know Master of Puppets, but, somebody who's 20 may not know Master of Puppets.
Yeah, we should actually be reveling in introducing it to somebody else and feeling... As long as they're open-minded, of course, having fun showing it to other people. Like, I can't wait to show so many things to my daughter as she grows up.
And not only that, but I think that... we've commented on the same thing goes with movies. It doesn't really matter when you discover something. I think it's more important that you've discovered it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you've seen The Godfather when you're, 35 or when you're 20. It doesn't matter. As long as you've come to it at some point in your life, I think that's the most important part. Same thing can be said with music, So it's all... Yeah. Yeah, it's all relative.
But back to what I was, the connection.
Back to what you were saying about Wayne's World 2.
Yeah, why I realized that I think there are many reasons, but one of the reasons is if you know Wayne's World 2, it opens with another concert, but this being Aerosmith. And I love Aerosmith more than I like Queen. Like, I love they're one of my favorite all-time bands. And just the opening of them going to the Aerosmith's concert, and then, of course, at the end, they show up at the festival, and it's just... and the story is so much more out there and fun and taking chances that I just love that second movie more than the first movie. Though they're both great because, even the first movie's got like more references to other movies like The Graduate and stuff like that. So I don't know what it is. I don't know if maybe I saw the second one before I saw the first one, but that second movie just holds a special place more in my heart. So
Oh yeah, I think in the first film, yeah, I remember the Aerosmith because I've seen Aerosmith in concert. But the first film I think has Alice Cooper in it, right?
Yes, Alice Cooper shows up. Yeah,
they go to an Alice Cooper concert.
yep,
I think the second film has the whole we're not worthy and they're bowing down.
yeah, they're bowing
for,
down.
Steven Tyler
Yep,
and
yep.
Joe Perry and Aerosmith and whatnot. And he's like, "You're worthy. Get up.
Get up, get up. And then the big festival at the end, there's other acts, I think. Well, there's the whole thing where they're in the sound booth and they're talking about, like, what bands are going to be there. There's, like, Aerosmith and Pearl Jam. And they're like, whoa, who else? Who else? A man fashioning a kayak out of a log. What? No! Rip Taylor's going to be there. Ah, yeah. I see, I can do the whole movie.
Nice, Rip Taylor.
Yeah, but yeah, it's just something about that movie. The villain, of course, Christopher Walken is the villain in that movie too, and that makes it even more, juicier. Then there's the whole scene where Cassandra's dad shows up and he has to fight him.
Yeah, and it's a whole. I mean, we were talking so much about martial arts films from the 70s. That whole sequence is an homage to martial arts. 70s
They do the whole
martial
moving
arts
their mouth,
films.
but it's not fitting there.
with
Yeah, they do that.
Yeah, with the unsynced, dubbing and whatnot. And is that the film with where they perform the Village People?
Yes, there's the scene where they're spying on Cassandra, and so the whole team,
they're all dressed as the Village People.
They run into the gay club, and then they're accidentally on stage, and then the DJ catches them, and then they have to do the YMCA. Yeah,
he just starts playing the YMCA music.
It's amazing. There's so many great things in that second movie. Yeah,
it really is. I have them both on Blu-ray because I know those Blu-rays. I think we talked about last week. They've been around for a while.
Yeah.
So it'd be nice that this is getting kind of a nice remaster, I hope, from Paramount. But moving on from there, I guess we're moving back to Boutique Land. Move back to some Kino stuff. Because Kino, of course, couldn't stay quiet when everybody else is quiet.
Of course.
They're putting out a couple of interesting things. I think more specifically, I think one that's really going to be highlighted on a bunch of people's, checklist boards is In Bruges is getting a 4K UHD release.
Yeah, Martin McDonagh
is the Martin McDonagh film.
It's a great film. Yeah,
great film. This is an incredible film. Martin McDonagh doesn't do a lot of movies. I think he's only done like
3 or 4.
movies?
He did 7 Psychopaths. He did
In Bruges.
He did
and
3 Billboards.
3 Billboards.
Yeah. I think that might be
That
it. There
may
might
be it.
There might be one
know
other
he's
one,
doing
but
it-
I'm forgetting it.
He did a short film called Six Shooter, which I think I've seen. It may actually be on as a special feature somewhere, or even maybe on YouTube. That was from 2004. But yeah, he's doing a new film coming out this year actually called The Banshees of Inisherin.
Yeah, he's an Irish filmmaker, if I'm remembering.
Yes, he is.
Yeah.
Yes, he is. He's also more of a playwright. I know he's done a lot of work in the theater.
Yeah.
So I think that's where his origins come from. So he's not, not a straight movie director, writer, producer, stuff like that. He's more in the theater realm. That's where he got his start from. But I love In Bruges. I've recommended In Bruges to so many people so many times.
I have the limited edition from Second Sight. I went and got that, and I'm probably okay with that. I mean, it's a good disc. It's pretty new too. So I don't.
Yeah, I've got the Blu-ray from 2010.
so you'll be
not
upgrading.
Exactly up to date.
You'll be upgrading.
This will be an upgrade.
Yeah.
This will be a most definite upgrade. And as we've seen that, Criterion Kino has been upgrading so many different movies, on to 4K UHD format. From all over the map.
Yeah.
We just talk. I think you just watched Out of Sight. Because you mentioned it on one of the videos you did for our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels. And they've done so many different things. So this is another one, but this is a 2-disc set. The first disc obviously being the UHD disc, the second disc being the Blu-ray disc. But it is a brand new 4K master, and you're getting that version of both the UHD disc as well as the Blu-ray disc, and just loads of special features too.
Yeah,
really loads of special features. This is a film starring Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson, Ray Fiennes. Great dark black comedy. It was really one of the first films where I was introduced to the concept of what a black comedy was. This idea of being both, like you're not supposed to be laughing, but you are laughing because there's an absurdity to it, but they shouldn't be laughing at times. Yeah, for those of you who haven't seen this film, basically Brendan Gleeson takes Colin Farrell's character to in Bruges on a holiday after kind of a botched
hit job.
Hit job, because I think they're hitmen or something like that. And there's a specific reason why he's being brought there and stuff like that. You just got to see the movie. But yeah, this is a fantastic film. It was streaming on Netflix for a long time. I don't think it is anymore. Another thing I wanted to bring up, kind of a bit of a recap, not a recap, but a follow-up to what we talked about a couple of times, is indeed that the 4K UHD disc of Tropic Thunder from Kino will only have the theatrical cut in 4K UHD. And the reason being is because Kino never got, or there was never an HDR or 4K master remade for the director's cut.
It says it has it has a remastered in 4K for the director's cut.
Not the director's cut.
It says it right here. I'm looking at it.
Oh, well, you know what it is? But there was never one done for a 4K release. So there was no HDR. There was no HDR master done for it. But it is getting, you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah. They just decided they didn't want to spend that much money on two different cuts of the movie, so they went with the theatrical cut.
Yeah, there was no HDR done.
Yeah.
And HDR is really where is where you get the 4K stuff, the high dynamic range, the Dolby Vision. You know, they have to go back and do all that stuff too when it comes to these releases, and they didn't do it for the director's cut. Hence why the director's cut's only getting a Blu-ray release and not getting a 4K release.
You know where I stand. That's fine with me.
That's fine with you
because I think the theatrical cut's a better movie. I think they pull some jokes out of the director's cut that I'm like, that was one of the better jokes of the movie. What the fuck? Why you take that out? So I'm fine with it. You give me the 4K of the movie I wanted. Cool.
Yeah, it was just so interesting to me when that news came up this week, is that so many movies from the 2000s. I don't know if this was just a 2000s thing or not. Whether it be action, whether it be comedy, drama, not so much drama, but mostly action and comedy, there would always be like two cuts of the movie when it came to the DVDs coming out.
Yeah.
It would always be like the theatrical cut you saw in theaters, and then there would be like this never before seen, unrated director's cut with more jokes.
Yeah, they use that to
this
sell the
and
movie
more
a bunch,
action.
yeah.
Yeah, and they would like resell the movie to you as like, oh, the cut you've never seen before, and it would only be like 2 minutes of extra footage.
especially with horror films. You know,
horror films, yes.
The unrated cut was always on something, you know.
It was always like the unrated cut, you know, the cut it was too gruesome for you to see in theaters.
Yeah.
There was always stuff like that. But moving on from there, another Kino Lorber release is a film that's actually already gotten a Blu-ray release. And this is Hudson Hawk, starring Bruce Willis. And this had a Blu-ray release from Mill Creek, actually. And I'm pretty sure it looked fine. It was done by Mill Creek, so there's always issues when it comes to Mill Creek's releases on Blu-ray.
I just got basketball from Mill Creek, and it looked fine.
Yeah, I mean they look fine.
Yeah.
It all depends on where it all depends on where they're getting the masters from, and honestly, a lot of their issues are the authoring of their discs aren't really good.
Yeah,
that's a whole big discussion for a different time. That deals with like all kind of technical nonsense that we don't really have to get into. But Hudson Hawk did have a Blu-ray release from Mill Creek back in 2013, and then also a re-release in 2020, I believe. And yeah, I believe it looks fine, but I'm hoping that this actually has some special features, and it does, because I know the Mill Creek is notorious for not having any features on it at all. They don't produce their own features. They're budget releases.
Yes.
You know, they're cheap releases. But this looks like we're getting an audio commentary from the director. We're getting like a making of and all kind of stuff.
Yeah, it's not a great movie.
It's not a great. It's almost like it's like a quasi spoof movie actually. Because I watched it for the first time earlier this year.
Yeah, it's
very silly.
It's an amalgamation of so many different genres. And like it's somewhat of a musical. Like there's a couple musical scenes, but it's also like a caper movie. It's like it's got so many different elements to it, and then you got to believe the people that are the actors in it are doing what they're doing. Like Bruce Willis is playing an action guy, but he's also trying to play kind of funnier than natural, not natural funny, but like funny. There's like some very like almost Buster Keaton type scenes in the movie where he's like dangling outside of ambulances on a being pulled by a sheet, and like kids are watching him from the side. He's like, "Hey, kid," like it's kind of goofy sometimes.
Yeah, he plays a cat burglar. In the film. I think like I believe Andie MacDowell's in the film as well. I've always been a big fan of Andie MacDowell.
Oh yeah, I love her. Yeah,
and it's just they have a great like relationship back and forth, and there's like a zaniness in it. I think Sandra Bernhard is the bad guy. She was in The King of Comedy. Richard E. Grant.
Richard E. Grant's is the other bad guy. Yeah,
is like the other bad guy, and then it's all about like trying to steal like priceless artwork and who wants this and that. It's wild. It's not Die Hard. I can tell you that. It's not like any of the Die Hard movies.
I'll give it this. I believe Bruce Willis is one of the writers too of the story of this. So, and of course, if you know Bruce Willis, he's also a musician. Like he's got his own music.
I was just gonna say, you mentioned the whole musical aspect. Yeah, he was in a band, and he
at this time it was a big part of his life, and I think he wanted to do something music oriented. So there are a few musical scenes in this movie, but it's not really a musical. It's briefly a musical in certain scenes. Like near the beginning, there's like one scene where him and his friend are like singing a song, and I can't even remember what it was called. That's how unforgettable it was.
Yeah, I'm just looking at this cast. This cast now. Danny Aiello is like his handler, or is like his partner in the movie. James Coburn's in the film. David Caruso is in the movie, and I remember him because of course he was in what was he on? CSI Miami. That was David Caruso. Yeah. But this was way before any of that. Yeah. But yeah, that's Hudson Hawk. If you're a Bruce Willis fan, I think obviously this is going to be a much better release than
it's not a terrible,
just for special features.
It's not a terrible movie. It's just not. It's not. It's a little bit of a mess, but it's
not. And I think there are other Bruce Willis films that I think need Blu-ray release.
I can tell you right now,
the last Boy Scout does not have a Blu-ray release.
Well, I tell you a Bruce Willis movie you don't need to buy. Cop Out. You don't need to buy. You don't need to buy that crap.
Yeah, The Last Boy Scout does have a Blu-ray release. Actually, has a couple of them, but they're all overseas. Yeah. Like the UK got one in 2010, Italy got one in 2010. You just mentioned Cop Out. Australia has a Last Boy Scout and Cop Out double.
Why would they do that to the Last Boy Scout? Jesus Christ!
I don't know.
I guess they're trying to sell Cop Outs by.
What's interesting is that the Last Boy Scout's gotten a release in like every other country except for the United States.
Yeah,
it's got a release in like Brazil, and Ireland, and Italy, and I don't even know some of these countries' flags. Sweden, I think that's Sweden. Russia, but not the United States.
It's gonna come. It'll happen one day. But
this would be prime. Kino should release it. Why not? Going to release Hudson Hawk. Release The Last Boy Scout.
Well, I believe we're going to get a lot of Bruce Willis. I think because of his retirement and.
We'll talk about another Bruce Willis film later on here. Kind of the other end of the spectrum of where his life is now. But moving on from there, we've got a couple of more. Actually, I think that one more Kino release.
You're talking about Ace High.
Well, Ace High we talked about when it was announced, but now we've gotten an official date of September 20th. It's getting an HD master from a 4K scan from the original 35mm camera negative from Paramount. So that's part of that Paramount deal like we talked about. This is the film directed by Terrence Hill, starring Eli Wallach. We talked about it when it came out.
Okay.
I just can't remember. I get all of these people who have the last name Hill confused.
Well, I can tell you here, if you go to the Facebook page, there is some announcements. I don't think that were put on other pages. Like did we talk about the Milos Forman film Valmont?
No, Valmont.
Yeah.
But no, that's actually one that I wanted to bring up. Thank you for reminding
No
me.
problem.
Because it is a Milos Forman film. We don't have a lot of Milos Forman on Blu-ray, unfortunately.
Recently, we've started to see some with Man on the Moon.
Yes, finally we got Man on the
And
Moon.
I think there was something else too. Didn't something else get a recent from him?
Let me look actually. And the reason why is because I always end up kind of realizing that I don't have a lot of Milos Forman in my collection. That's just because a lot of it's not released. I still need to get Man on the Moon actually, but I know like The People vs. Larry Flint has a Blu-ray release, and yeah, there's a lot. Unfortunately, that doesn't. But yeah, Velmont is one I didn't get to watch this, Steven, so I don't know much.
Yeah,
about
I don't
it.
either. I don't know anything about it.
And which is unfortunate. It is a longer film. I know the movie's about like 2.5 hours long.
Yeah.
So The People vs. Larry Flint has a Blu-ray release. Amadeus, which I forgot he directed, has a Blu-ray release. But I know people have been waiting for years for the theatrical cut of that movie to get a Blu-ray release because all they've ever put out on Blu-ray is the much longer director's cut. And there's been a rumor of that getting a 4K release now for a while.
Yeah.
There's been a rumor that's going to get a Criterion release for a while. So keep your eyes out for that. I don't know when it's going to happen, but that could be a possibility sometime.
Ragtime got a
Ragtime got a Blu-ray release.
Paramount Presents release, I believe.
Yes, it did. I think Justin Beam did.
He did
features for
on
that.
Yep.
And I know One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest has gotten multiple releases. That could use a 4K release. I know it's gotten a few Blu-ray releases, but its last Blu-ray release was 2010, and I'm pretty sure it was the same exact transfer that they put out on the disc from 2008. So that movie's prime for a re-release because I'm pretty sure that's in the old VC1 codec. That's an older Blu-ray. I know I have that digibook, and then there was a much like Ultimate Collector's Edition put out later on. But it's getting, so 3 years from now would be the anniversary of that. I think 50 years? No, maybe longer. I can't do math right now. 1975 to now. People do that math out there. But I'm just saying.
It's like 43 years or 40. Yeah, 42 years.
Yeah, it would be 50 years in 3 years.
Yeah.
So that would be something really, really nice to put out. That's an all-time classic. But yeah, so but Valmont is coming out from a brand new 2K match. This film came out in 1989. Have you seen the cast of this film?
Mm-mm.
Annette Bening, Colin Firth, Meg Tilly, Fairuza Balk. Very interesting cast. Must be a very young Fairuza Balk because she was young in The Craft, which came out in the 90s. And of course, she was in Waterboy as well as Almost Famous.
Yeah, this must have been her as a little one because 89.
Yeah, I think she reprised her role in the new Craft movie as well. I don't know, I didn't see it, but I know it had a connection to the original Craft film.
All right.
Co-written and directed by Milos Forman. So yeah, that's Valmont. The Turning Point, which is a 1952 film noir, also coming in that Paramount deal. Got a new 4K scan from the original 35mm Elements. This movie's already gotten a Blu-ray release. It's in one of the Imprint film noir boxes.
Oh, okay.
And I know that because I'm pretty sure I watched it for maybe when we covered it.
Okay. All right. I think the only one left here is Warning Shot.
Yes,
is the last one.
That is the last one here.
And it doesn't have a date, but it's...
Yeah, it was part of the Essential Film Noir box collection number 3, which is coming out August 31st, 2022. So that's where the Turning Point is. So if you don't want to get that box and you still want to get the Turning Point, Kino's got you covered. Kino has you covered. This film starring William Holdman, Edmund O'Brien, Alexis Smith. But moving on to the last one is, like you said, Stephen.
Warning Shot.
Warning Shot.
Starring David Jansen.
Yes, in big, bold
just the same amount
letters.
of font size as the name of the movie.
Yes. Very confusing. Very confusing. Yeah, I know nothing about the
Yeah,
film.
it's another Paramount film, so maybe this was
Directed by Buzz Killick, though.
Oh yeah,
Buzz Killick, Kullick, I think that's his
Kullick.
name.
Yeah,
Yeah, he directed. I think. Yeah, he directed The Hunter, which I think is. Hold on. Yeah, The Hunter, which starred Steve McQueen. It was one of Steve McQueen's last films.
okay.
That got an imprint release sometime this year. So that's where I know Buzz Kullick from.
Cool.
Yeah, and he also directed Brian's Song. I mean, James Caan just passing away.
Yeah.
That needs a Blu-ray release. I don't think Brian. I know it's a TV movie, but come on.
Oh, that has Kino written all over it then.
Well, actually, there is a Blu-ray release. I lied to the world. Should have done my research. Damn it, Steven.
It's okay.
Sony Pictures actually put out a Blu-ray of this in 2020. Rather expensive, and obviously people have been scooping it up because James Caan's recently passing away.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does have a Blu-ray release. But yeah, that was in like a 1971 TV movie about the true life story of Gale Sayers and Brian Piccolo, the football players. Starring Billy D. Williams and the late James Caan. So that's why I went on that tangent there. But let's move on to the only slate of stuff we got this week.
Before we do that, there was one single release that
I always forget stuff.
Yeah, well, there was one single release that I wanted to bring up because I watched most of it.
Yes.
And it's from a label called Picture House Entertainment from the UK. And that's Gaspar Noé's most recent film. It says 2022, but I believe it actually was in festivals in 2021. Vortex. And it's about this elderly couple who they live in Paris, and basically one of them's going through they're going through dementia. Specifically, the wife is kind of dealing with it more so than the husband is. Husband, I believe, has heart issues and stuff, but the way that the movie is presented, it's kind of got some of that flair we're known for seeing with Gaspar Noé, the split screen, but he uses it very much the whole movie this time, where you see the perspectives of both husband and the wife as they do their routine. It is one of the movies that you have to stick with. Like, it's not. And like I said, I wasn't able to finish it. It is 2 hours and 20 minutes long, so it's a long one. But for what I watched, I was really into it. It's a very, Gaspar Noé is known for being kind of frank when it comes to his subject matters, and then of course he gets really surreal in a lot of his movies. But like, this movie is actually a more straight up movie than most of his other movies, and I feel like he's handling the subject pretty intensely. And another thing about this film is that the actor playing the husband is Dario Argento.
It is indeed.
Yeah, so that's pretty cool, having Dario Argento acting in your movie. And
I'm assuming they must be friends.
I'm assuming, yeah. I mean, it's
colleagues, if you will.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's. I will say, with what I've seen of the movie, I really liked it. And it's his movies are always an experience. He likes to give you. He makes the filmmaking part of movies like more in your face. Like he lets you know that there's people that, like, you know what I mean. Like, he's not. It's not that he's necessarily trying to lose you in the movie. He's trying to dazzle you with filmmaking, and it keeps it interesting. And how he presents this movie with the split screen. It almost sounds like I'm saying it's a negative, but it isn't. Like, I'm saying you're being reminded that this is a film as you're watching it, and it's not necessarily losing you because of how it's presented, because it's presented in this obvious split screen throughout the whole movie. Even when you don't really need one, there'll be a scene where they're like, you could have fit this all in one frame, but instead he keeps it split, and you're only focusing on one person, and that camera's focusing on a different angle. It's like getting TV, but all in one frame.
It's a style. It's a stylistic choice.
It is, and I think it works.
Brian De Palma did the same thing.
Yeah, it works good for this film because you're seeing these two people that are going through something together, but also going through something completely different. One person's dealing with a whole other, and it's how their marriage, of course, is dissolving through this process too, and when they go off in separate directions to do their own thing, how they handle things, or how they feel about their significant other when that other person's not around, and it's very interesting. It's good. So it's on, I believe it's on streaming. You can rent it. It's like Amazon.
I was just gonna ask you.
Well, not streaming, but Amazon Prime. You can rent it. I think it's like $5. So
okay, gotcha. Yeah, there is. Yeah, and before we move on to our final slate, rumor mill stuff as well. Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves, starring Kevin Costner, may at some point be getting a UHD release from perhaps Arrow. That's another one that could possibly be in the works. Now, this was an early watch for me, Steven.
Yeah, me too. I still have the snapper case.
I was gonna go deeper than that. VHS.
Oh, wow.
Probably one of the earliest VHSs I ever remember watching as a tiny child was this movie. Don't know why, but I remember watching this when I was like, I don't know, 3-4 years old. Just, I don't know why. It's not an appropriate movie, I guess, for that age group.
But, what was?
I remember watching it.
But, I mean, like, I think Kevin Costner was, in our age group, Kevin Costner was a big deal.
He was a huge star.
Huge star when we were growing
early
up.
Early 90s? Yeah. This was post Dances with Wolves. He was a massive star in the 90s. I think people really underestimate how big of a star he is. I mean, he's still working today, and he's still a quote-unquote star today.
Yellowstone's one of the most popular shows. I mean,
it is.
Yeah.
I mean, it is still one of the most popular shows, but I'm talking like movie star. Yeah. Like his movies aren't getting...
well, he's not starring in a bunch of movies.
He's not starring or headlining movies. He's not Tom Cruising it up.
Yeah.
Or anything like that. But he's still working.
Yeah.
And he's still a recognizable name and presence. But back in the day, he was huge.
Back in the 80s and 90s, he was
late. That mid 80s to I would say mid 90s was a Kevin Costner realm. I think Waterworld really may have been the one that did him in. Ironically, Arrow has already released Waterworld.
Yeah.
So it could very well just follow that kind of drama, because I believe Waterworld and this film were directed by the same director. So maybe that's why they own the rights to both of those movies. I don't know why they're waiting so long to release this, but whatever.
It's the better of the two movies.
Yeah, ironically so. Even bad accent and all, or in and out accent and all. It's still
it's fun.
It's how I was actually introduced to the Robin Hood legend.
Yeah,
was Kevin Costner and Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves.
Yeah,
how I saw Morgan Freeman for the first time was in the Robin Hood, Prince of Thieves. I didn't even understand what the heck was going on. Christian Slater, another one, was in this film. Mary Elizabeth Mastrantoni, Alan Rickman for the first time.
Yeah.
I saw Alan Rickman was in this movie. And later
Robin
on,
Hood.
Go on to other things. Yeah, he played the Sheriff of Nottingham.
It's terrible. That was a terrible Alan Rickman, by the way.
Was that an Alan Rickman?
I was trying.
I
Harry Potter. I can't even do. I can't even do it.
You don't get dark. I guess you don't get deep enough.
I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm not even gonna try anymore.
Yeah, I still can't get over the fact that he passed away.
Yeah, God.
It just doesn't. It still doesn't seem real, and it was 2016. So it's longer ago than we thought, than we think. Well, just sad.
Yeah, it is.
But, anyway,
I do have another one more.
Oh, good. It's so all over the place this week.
Death.
Usually we're just grabbing stuff from everywhere.
101 Films has a dual release here of Deathstalker and Deathstalker 2.
Okay.
Haven't seen them. They're both 80s, basically 80s fantasy kind of Conan the Barbarian kind of ripoff type of movies.
Gotcha.
I looked at the trailers for both of them. The first movie seems to kind of be more on the serious side, and the second one seems to be more like almost a spoof of itself, or a spoof of the genre. So, and that one looks more fun. The second one looks like it would be the one I would want to watch.
Nice.
So, might want to check these out. See if there's anywhere you can watch this before maybe purchasing it. Or if you've seen them already, maybe this will be your thing. But 101 Films has Deathstalker 2. So, all right.
Nice shout out, nice mention. But yes, moving on now to Umbrella. Hey, now going back down under.
I don't think
I
you're going
tried
to
to
need
force
much of
that
an
rhyme.
umbrella there. I don't think it rains a ton
Yeah,
there.
I was gonna say umbrella going down under, but that was a terrible.
You
forced
got to
rhyme.
stop. You got to stop that.
Yeah, you gotta stop. I can't do it. Can't shake them. But this is their September releases, and this is a smaller slate of 6 films, and this is Martyrs, which we're gonna get into. We got to get into. You can't just drop that and not talk about it. A Dangerous Summer, Mask by the late great Peter Bogdanovich. A film called Falling for Figaro, which is currently streaming on Hulu. If those of you interested, and we got one of these kind of, late career films from Bruce Willis in Wrong Place, and then we have a documentary called Beyond the Wasteland, which is a documentary about I believe the fandom and I guess you could say phenomena of Mad Max.
Yeah.
Which unfortunately I wasn't able to watch, and it's not really streaming anywhere or even available to rent, which sucks because I kind of was interested in seeing it. I think it was something I was probably at festivals and stuff like that, but I'm just kind of fascinated with everything Mad Max because I think Mad Max Fury Road is still amazing. But getting into it, man, we got to get into it. Beyond Genres number 22 is Martyrs, the film that came out in 2008, and I don't think we need to introduce this movie. Fucking goddamn. So in the 2000s, the concept of the torture porn subgenre of horror kind of came into existence a bit. I think a lot of that had to do with Saw coming out in 2004, and then subsequent things coming out after that, Hostel and all these other movies. But that kind of subgenre kind of spruced up. And one of the more notorious ones I think a lot of people know, even if you haven't seen it or aren't even a fan of that genre, you've heard of the movie Martyrs. It is a brutal film to watch.
Yeah.
It lives up to that representation of its brutality. Man, so Steven, you've seen this movie.
Yes.
Did you watch it for the first time for this? And I can't believe this movie is actually streaming for free on Plex. Holy
Yes. So any
sweet
young
goodness.
child, if you would like to go over to,
Oh my, and Tubi, good
yeah,
gracious
it's everywhere.
me. It is rated R, but it is a movie not for the faint of heart. This was your first time?
Yes, it was. It's one of them films that, like we talked about earlier, you get to a movie eventually, and this was my opportunity to get to Martyrs. And of course, it did have a remake in 2015.
Yeah, an American remake.
Blumhouse, I believe, produced it. I don't know anything about it. I assume it's not as good as this. This one's.
I heard it's not as good, but I also heard it's probably the same premise. But I don't think they were able to go as dark.
I don't think they probably went as far as this. The original. The original is a French film, right? It's a French film, right? I think it's Canadian French production.
Yeah.
But this film, very dark and disturbing movie about people's inner demons, and about abuse and about where that abuse can lead your mind and how you can let that eat you up inside, and it's physically manifested in a very disturbing way throughout the whole movie. Specifically, the last third is
the third act of this movie is brutal. This film, it starts out one way where it's actually I'm not going to say anything plot wise, but it's like a revenge film.
Yeah.
And then there's a harsh left turn, like midway through the second act or, approaching third act territory, and the film changes completely.
Well,
and it's like, damn.
What you get
it
is
changes completely in the plot wise.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Not so much in theme like you're saying. Those themes definitely continue, but just
what
go
it
off
does
into different
is
directions.
the main character who we know has been abused. We don't get to see much of that abuse, but we know she's damaged, and then she's taking out her revenge. And that would typically be the plot of a whole movie. In a lot of movies.
Literally movies called Revenge, where that's the plot of the movie.
Yeah, but in this movie, she has a companion. She has a friend with her that's trying to help her. And once said revenge is had, it ends up, that revenge gets then transferred to, it ends up backfiring where there's more to this, people that tortures her.
Then meets the eye.
Yeah, there's more people to the torturers. There's more of them than she's aware of. And
I don't want to give away too many spoilers here.
And so now the friend is you get to see what really happens with this and what's behind the torturing itself.
Yeah, and then it goes very into very metaphorical, philosophical, theological themes kind of kick in, and it's a fascinating ending. And yeah, it's an incredible film on so many levels, and I'm using the word incredible in the sense that it's daring and bold and all those things.
Bold.
But it's a brutal,
I will say,
physically brutal.
I will
film.
say this: I won't say exactly what happens, but there's a particular torture that happens in the movie that apparently is not realistic.
Well, no, not at all.
Yeah, but it's still disturbing.
That's when I'm saying it reaches the point of okay, it's becoming more metaphorical. Yeah, becoming more philosophical. Not even fantastical in fantasy terms. Yeah. But it's trying to make a rather real world point in its ending, and it kind of does that. And when I saw this getting a release, I was like, wow, bold release. Yeah. And it did get a special edition. But that special edition was super, not a special edition, like a special, collector's edition where it came with like posters and stuff like that. That's sold out already. I think it came with a book, exclusive slipcase, 8 lobby cards, and a poster, and that's sold out already. But you can still get the regular Blu-ray release of this. I just wanted to check right away to see if this actually doesn't have a Blu-ray release here in the United States. It's got one in the UK, which blows my mind because the UK, if anybody knows, violence is not really, that's the stuff that they censor a lot of. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So the fact that Martyrs has a release in the UK and not here in the US is mind blowing to me. It actually got a Blu-ray release when it came out because the movie came out in 2008 and this Blu-ray release is from 2009. So it came out right when it came out, but it doesn't have one here in the States. The 2015 one, the remake does. A couple of other Blu-rays in like Germany and France and Italy and Japan and other places like that, but nothing here in the U.S. yet. So this is kind of like the closest, you can get to like a Region A release of this movie.
Sometimes these Australian releases actually do play on Region A players.
All of mine do.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, I've never really hit that wall so far where they don't play.
Yeah.
At least the movies play.
Yeah.
Special features, usually different story. But this, so this is kind of, it's the first time that this has gotten a Blu-ray release since really it came out, for the most part. I mean, yeah.
And it looks like it's coming with a new feature from a new audio commentary from historian Dr. Lindsay Helm. So yeah, and then it has stuff BFI at home. It's got interviews with the director. It's got makeup interview. So yeah, it's.
Can't imagine that makeup work.
Yeah, God.
My goodness.
Yeah. But yeah, it's after seeing it, it's something I probably will pick up. I think I'm gonna.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Okay.
I liked it.
I couldn't expect you to be rewatching it though.
Come on, man. I mean, I guess. Why not?
It's one of those films where I've seen once and I've never felt the need to revisit again.
Well,
kind of like it's in the same realm for me as like
Siberian film,
a Requiem for a Dream. Requiem for a Dream I've seen I think once.
So you didn't buy the 4K that came out?
I did not buy the 4K, and they tried desperately to pawn that off on people because I know that was going for a very cheap amount of money, and I just don't think people wanted to see that whole climax scene in the crispest or best high definition you possibly can.
The thing that's weird about that coming from you is that you talk about so much about how you love melancholic movies.
Oh yeah, that's one of the most depressing films I've ever seen.
But now you're telling me there's certain lines.
Well, I'll watch them, but after that, I don't feel the need to watch them.
But the thing is, what if you want to show somebody else? You got to own it.
Thing is, show somebody else or tell somebody else about it.
No, I got to show somebody else.
I'll tell you, hey, go watch Martyrs or something. But I won't be
Well,
like, hey, let's sit down and watch it together.
Well, we can't. We don't live near each other. But if
yeah, true. I'm just hypothetically.
Well, I know, but if I was with some of my movie friends and they were like, never seen Martyrs, and I haven't, I'm like, dude, you need to see Martyrs. It's out. You got to have it. That's the point.
I guess
you got to be the cool guy that has everything.
Yeah, you got to have the weird stuff.
You got to have all the weird stuff. Nobody, Yeah,
you gotta show people movies that they've never heard of before, or heard of and just have never seen.
Yeah, it's important to have all that stuff so you can brag about it later.
I do have a lot of that. Not a lot of that stuff. I do have a few of those things, and it's just like the thing is, I watch a lot of movies. I predominantly watch movies by myself now.
Yeah.
So it's just like I'm trying to wrap my head around the concept of like, hey, let's watch this movie. Like I used to watch like Blue Velvet with friends, stuff like that, but now it's like the older I've gotten, the way life goes, people don't have the time anymore. People live their lives in different ways and whatnot. So you lose those types of connections and things. So it's mostly just me watching movies by myself. But that sounds way more sad than it actually is.
You're making it melancholic now.
I'm making it sad.
But it's.
But speaking of another sad movie, Mask by Peter Bogdanovich, the director's cut, film from 1985, based on a true story. Rocky Dennis. This is a film I know many people are very familiar with. I know, Steven, you said you used to watch it a bunch of times when you were younger.
At the time I didn't realize it was made by a kind of an important filmmaker, and I just know I liked the movie. Like I watched it a bunch of times. I was fascinated by it. Knowing that the main character had like a disformity. It was always it was always kind of a tearjerker type of movie for me. Even as a kid, I understood that the main character was going through something and then was getting picked on, and then I always felt like an outsider too. So I could relate in some ways to the character. Feeling like I wasn't accepted, So I mean, this is a film that is about all those things that you said. It is about, don't judge a book by its cover.
It's
almost like almost like a modern, not really the same story, but like almost a modern update, a little bit further up the road, Elephant Man, where it's like.
Yeah, it's like a more digestible Elephant Man story for a younger audience, I would say. Because I know I watched it in high school. They showed it to us in high school when I was like a freshman at like 14, 15. You know what I mean? So it's kind of something like that type of tale.
Oh, and then more recently, they did a newer version of it with that. What's that one with the kid?
Wonder.
Wonder, yeah.
Yes,
which is another similar premise.
He has the same type of disease or ailment that Rocky Dennis had, and it's a very similar film.
Yeah.
Where this idea of, either don't judge someone by the way they look. There's
still
more
a person.
To life. There's more to life than that. Yeah. There's more to a person than the way they look. If they, what are their other characteristics that make them a unique and good person?
Yeah.
Like Rock. And there's another one where there's one of the main things in the film that I really picked up on seeing it now because we're getting a lot more of this in just everyday life and just culture in general, is this idea of people automatically assume things about people if they are have some type of physical disability or physical ailment or whatnot. And one of the earliest stuff they touched upon in this movie is that Rocky Dennis was actually a very smart individual, and they wanted to put him in like a school for those who have some type of mental handicap or some type of mental disability and whatnot. And no, he was just a regular, normal kid who liked baseball cards and was interested in motorcycles and all this kind of stuff. And he just happened to have a physical disability. And it humanizes that aspect of where a lot of these people have been very dehumanized in culture, in movies, in TV shows, and all this kind of stuff. So it's a very, great contemporary film.
Yeah.
Whether it had that intention or not. I think it's a really great film. Cher is great in the film. Eric Stoltz is great in the film.
Sam Elliott.
Who else is Sam Elliott? I was just gonna say. I love, I love this whole, adopted family that Rocky Dennis has with this whole biker gang that his mom's a part of, and grandparents are a part of and stuff. It's really, it's a solid movie, really solid film. I think it's a film that really kind of launched Eric Stoltz's career into another stratosphere. I know before this, he was supposed to be in Back to the Future.
Supposed to be Marty McFly for about 5 minutes.
And they shot most of early parts of that movie with him as Marty McFly. You can see, I'm pretty sure you can see the footage on YouTube. Or if not, it's part of the special features on one of the Blu-ray or now UHD releases of Back to the Future. But then after, that project, kind of went a different route, getting rid of him, his career went in a different trajectory and whatnot. He's still a solid actor.
Oh, yeah.
Really solid actor. This film also has a young Laura Dern in it as well, who Rocky Dennis has a relationship with. I can say so much about this movie. And I didn't know it was directed by Peter Bogdanovich until a few years ago. And it was one of his later films, kind of one of the films he did after his kind of mainstay work in the 70s.
It's kind of a little bit outside what you expect from him as a filmmaker. It's just like, now I'm not saying that these movies are equivalent, but it's like when Francis Ford Coppola did Jack.
Not even close.
He randomly does Jack, which is a similar premise of a person that's going through a disease, in that way. But and it's just kind of a left turn for Francis Ford Coppola, who typically does type of like crime films and dramas, and then he does this
because before this he had done things like At Long Last Love. He of course done Paper Moon. Of course he did What's Up Doc and The Last Picture Show, which we just mentioned earlier. And it's nice to see another one of his movies get a Blu-ray release, because we're still waiting on a lot of his catalog to get a Blu-ray release. I mean, some of them have, but not really here in the U.S. or even close to like a Region A release. Mask has only gotten a Blu-ray release. It's gotten one in Germany. It's gotten the closest one here. It's gotten one in the UK director's cut in 2018. It's gotten a Spanish release in 2020, a French release in 2018. But I would love if this would get a Region A release. I mean, what are we waiting for here? But there is a difference between the director's cut and the theatrical cut. The director's cut is about 2 hours long. The theatrical cut is 2 hours long. Director's cut is 2 hours and 7 minutes long, and the director's cut has actually has Bruce Springsteen songs inserted into the movie where they were originally intended to be.
Okay.
Apparently, I learned that at the time of the making, Bogdanovich wanted to use Bruce Springsteen music in the movie because Bruce Springsteen was Rocky Dennis's favorite, musical artist, and music rights issues and whatnot.
Yeah.
He actually ended up suing Universal Pictures because they changed the music in the movie without his permission. And so when the director's cut, I think, came out in the 2000s, they were able to get the music rights now and insert those the Bruce Springsteen music back into the movie. So that's an interesting kind of aside, but I guess that is a difference.
Yeah.
But so hopefully, I believe this is the director's cut. And yeah, Umbrella's putting out Mask by Peter Bogdanovich. I'm excited for it. More Bogdanovich, please.
Yes, definitely.
But moving on from there, A Dangerous Summer is part of their Ozploitation line. This is Ozploitation number 18. This came out in 1982. One of the later films starring James Mason. This film also stars Tom Skerritt, pre-Top Gun Tom Skerritt. And this movie is about... I watched it and I'm trying to figure out what it's about. so you can watch this on YouTube, I think, and it's streaming in other places as well. Like, I think the Internet Archive is where I watched it. There's like some arson. There's some arson happening, and it's all about like land. There's like business deals and stuff like that that's being like disrupted by some arson and some insurance fraud. And James Mason is, I think, an insurance investigator who's trying to figure it out, and Tom Skerritt is involved somehow. So they're trying to figure out who's doing it and for what reasons and all this kind of stuff. It's like $1 million type of business deal that's at stake and all this kind of stuff. It's not a great film. I was kind of bored by it for the most part. So I can't really like super recommend it, but it is, I guess it is an exclusive to, no, not exclusive, but it is getting a few new special features. Like there's an audio essay, there's a new interview with the co-writer and director. There's a new documentary about it as well. It's fine. I didn't really find myself liking it all that much.
Okay.
If that, I don't know,
that's disappointing.
Not exactly.
You seem to be really high on this line. You love the exploitation.
Of Umbrella? Oh, exploitation. Yeah. I don't actually have.
Well, you keep.
No, I don't have a lot of Umbrella in my collection at all.
Well, I was going to say, just every time we talk about the exploitation, you always say you.
I like exploitation, but this felt like over super serious and all that stuff. There's a few great sequences in it, of like fire, like fire sequences where people have to like escape these raging fires that are really, really good. But the overall plot, I just find a little lackluster in it. But moving on from there is the movie called Falling for Figaro. And this is a movie that is, like I said, streaming on Hulu. And this is a film that, when you read the premise of it, Stephen, you're getting very, very Lifetime movie vibes.
Cool.
I don't know if you've read the premise.
No.
Okay, so I will introduce you to this film. So, a brilliant young fund manager portrayed by Danielle MacDonald. Now, Danielle MacDonald is an actress people may be familiar with because she was in that movie Patty Cakes that came out in 2017 that was like a festival darling type movie. Great film if people haven't seen it. I don't know where it's streaming now, but it's very good. But I know her from that, and she is this. You're gonna get Lifetime movie vibes. She is this hedge fund manager who's kind of she's living a fine life, successful life. She's got like a really handsome boyfriend that she has a good relationship with, all that stuff. But of course, something's missing in her life, and she has this dream, and she wants to pursue this dream of becoming an opera singer. And
as one does, yeah.
As one does, she decides that she's going to try to find a great person to teach her, like a
vocal coach, yeah.
A vocal coach, something like that. So she ends up going to this small, tiny village in the Scottish Highlands to learn from this eccentric singing coach.
As one does.
As one does. And of course, there is someone there who she meets, and they have a relationship, an unexpected relationship with. They start out as antagonists, and then they start becoming friends. They start working together because he's also a student of this eccentric singing coach. And they end up having this relationship, and you can kind of guess where the movie goes from there because you've seen it a million times. But that being said, I found this movie to be rather charming and rather sincere, and I enjoyed watching it. It is a little too long. The movie clocks in at about 1 hour and 44 minutes or so, which it doesn't seem too long, but the movie drags a little bit towards the end, and it ends in a way that you all can kind of guess. It's a fine film. It's kind of like a 3-star movie for me. I really love the actress who's in it. I think she's fantastic, Danielle MacDonald. So that's kind of the reason why I enjoyed it so much. But yeah, that's Falling for Figaro.
Cool.
Exactly what you think it is.
Figaro.
Yes. And then we go down, Stephen, to a place many people venture to, and that is this late stage career of one legendary Bruce Willis, where he is doing all of these movies that I'm convinced now that after that article has come out, they're abusing this man.
Yeah.
Because wow, he's in the movie, but he's not there. It's really sad. Because it's so tough to watch someone not even acting. Like he's just talking. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like he doesn't have the cognitive ability anymore to emote and to do any of those things, and it's evident, and it's to the point where I'm like, why are they letting him do this?
Yeah.
Like why is he on the set making this movie where you could put anyone else in this role and it would be the same thing. You know what I mean?
I don't know. I don't know. I didn't read the article you're talking about. Obviously,
No, but just when all of the news came out and about like he can't really. They've had to really minimize what his ability is, that he can give performance wise on sets and all this kind of stuff, and getting to the point where like he can only work a certain amount of time. He can only have small amounts of dialogue. Not long days or anything like that. Sometimes he doesn't remember things. When you have
Sure.
the cognitive health issues that he's going through, that's what's going to happen, and it's obvious in this movie that is what's happening, because there's just nothing. He's not performing. He's just it's like he's reading lines off of a page as Bruce Willis.
Yeah.
There's not really acting going on. But the premise of this movie is such. So Bruce Willis plays this former police chief of a small town. He's working like security now, and he accidentally kind of busts up these like methamphetamine people who are like shaking somebody down, and one ends up getting arrested because he shoots him or whatever. And then his partner is trying to now hunt down Bruce Willis to get revenge. And then Bruce Willis's daughter, portrayed by Ashley Greene, is coming to town to visit him coincidentally at the same time, and she gets caught up in this whole revenge thing. And that's the premise of the movie. And it's extremely limited to what Bruce Willis can do. This isn't John McClane jumping from buildings. This isn't John McClane chasing anything down. This is him, walking into, to certain scenes, and they're cutting him in a way where he says a few things of dialogue, and then that's it. There's large parts of the movie where he's not even involved in it, and it's just really sad. And it's overall not really a good movie at all. Even if they had Bruce Willis, at in his prime, I don't even know if this would be a good movie in general.
Yeah.
It's not a good movie. It was a painful film to watch. Not great dialogue, not great direction, not great editing. It's not a good movie, And it's unfortunate that Bruce Willis is being kind of, brought out to do these types of movies now. These kind of straight to streaming movies, where back in the day these would be, straight to DVD or straight to VHS movies. For those of you who thinking to yourselves, where have I heard the name Ashley Greene before? I believe she was in the Twilight movies.
Yeah, she played one of the older siblings, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, of the what's the family? The Cullen family.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, I remember her. She was in those movies. She was in a lot of like kind of films around that time. Where she was in that movie Butter. I don't know if you remember that movie Butter. Where it was about like I guess
Butter
sculpting, butter carving at like carnivals and stuff.
It was about margarine.
Yeah, they have those at like I guess carnivals and fairs and stuff like that. I remember Jennifer Garner was in the film. Ty Burrell was in that movie. Olivia Wilde. Who directed that movie? No, nobody that was relevant. But I remember her being in a lot of those films in like the early 2000s, or early 2010s, I should say. And then her career kind of fell off a little bit. She's been in things, but kind of more like B movie type stuff. And this is very much a B or C movie. It's very interesting when you go on IMDb and you see how many people actually watch these movies like purposely. And I'm just like, hey, do whatever you want. I'm not going to judge you.
Some people just
some
watch
people love
things
to purposely
because
watch
Bruce
bad
Willis
movies.
is in it. Like it's
Yeah, people love to purposely watch bad movies.
Yeah, that too. I'm one of them. I do that sometimes.
Yeah, we watch the Nick Cage stuff.
Hey.
Yeah,
let's not do that. Let's not put that.
Yeah, I was gonna qualify it.
No, some of that stuff in the middle area here has been not great.
Well, the Nick Cage stuff. Yeah, but the difference is that Nick Cage
he's very much still trying.
Yeah,
he's able to
and
try.
Of course, Bruce Willis can't
he can't
help
but,
that aspect of his life. But at least Nick Cage is he's entertaining as heck just to watch on screen. Whereas Bruce Willis, having these limitations, cannot do what he used to do. And it's just having that in mind really detriments watching, I guess, a lot of these movies. Because it's like, why is he doing? Not why is he doing it? Why are people making him do it?
Well, I don't know that. I mean, like I said, we don't know enough.
Who's running? Who's handling?
Well, the thing is, we don't know enough. Maybe he's deciding he wanted to keep doing these movies to make money so that he could retire. It
could be. I don't know. I do not know. But I'm just saying, Wrong Place is the wrong movie to watch.
It's the wrong Bruce Willis movie to watch to remember him by.
Yes. Yeah. And he's also, he's showing his age now and stuff as well. Yeah. He looks like as old as he actually is, which doesn't happen for a lot of actors. A lot of actors kind of look a little younger than they do, but Bruce Willis is looking like his age. A great actor. I mean, I think this is one of the last movies that he's actually doing. I think there's a certain number left that he's got left to put out. There's I think 3 movies left for his career. Wire Room, Die Like Lovers, and then Paradise City. I think are the 3 movies that are left for him. Mm-hmm. At least that's according to IMDb.
All right.
Yeah.
Anything else left?
Yeah. No. I think that's it.
All right.
What a melancholic way.
I know. Thanks, man. Thanks for choosing the Bruce Willis movie as the last one to talk about.
I guess I had to.
Nah, it's all good. But that's it for this week's episode, guys. Thanks for listening. Andrew, where can you be found?
You can find me on Twitter at Capzilla06, as well as our YouTube channel, Chasing Labels.
And you can find me on Facebook, Stephen Billings. You can also find our Chasing Labels fan group on there. Just please go join. We will let you in. Talk Blu-rays with us. You can also find me at the Twitter at Chasing Labels or Instagram at Chasing Labels Pod. You can find the audio for this podcast on Podbean, Apple Podcast, Stitcher, Spotify, and other places. Thanks again for listening, and hey, keep on watching them movies.
I know I will.